What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to MKE MANIACI, and today we got the 10 greatest SummerSlam builds in WWE history from the partsFUNknown YouTube channel, man. We about 2 weeks out. Next week, Saturday, is SummerSlam, and your boy will be in attendance. Any of y'all going to SummerSlam? Let me know something, man. Now, I'm excited for it. This would actually be my first time going to a pay-per-view. All these decades, like, I've been a wrestling fan for over 2 decades, man. I've never been to a premium live event. This will be my first one going to. I've been to a lot of Raws, SmackDowns, and live events, but never a pay-per-view. So we're going to check out 10 greatest builds up to SummerSlam. Let's get it.
If this list was released 2 weeks from now, I can tell you as a certainty that the top spot would be occupied by Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso.
Fair.
It's not very often that we see a SummerSlam story be on the receiving end of an all-time epic build, the kind usually reserved for WrestleMania. A lot of the time in recent years, the SummerSlam card would be thrown together before the show without much thought, despite being WWE's second biggest show of the year. This, of course, is your notification that you won't be seeing matches like Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler during the next 11 minutes. However, when WWE has a clear goal in mind, they can give us a SummerSlam build that would indeed convince you that this is the WrestleMania of the summer. Here's to more positive lists. I'm Tempest, hailing from partsFUNknown, and these are the 10 greatest SummerSlam builds in WWE history. But before we get on with our list, make sure, of course, that you like this video if you haven't already, and make sure you're subscribed to partsFUNknown. We are oh so close to our 250,000 subscriber goal, where we're going to be playing a 4-player MyGM mode in WWE 2K23. You won't want to miss it, so get us to 250,000 today. Honorable mention: Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville, 2020. Misses out on the list for really no other reason than being part of the bad times, because somehow the comedy love triangle of Otis, Dolph Ziggler, and Mandy Rose, plus Sonya Deville meddling, led to one of the best storylines of the year for WWE, culminating in a loser-leave WWE match at SummerSlam between the former Fire and Desire. It's just a shame that the year in question was the one no one will ever willingly go back and rewatch. Number 10.
And that's true. How many of y'all do rewatch the pandemic era? Because I do not. Like, it was terrible. I commend them for continuing it, but that was a terrible, very terrible time.
Shame that the year in question was the one no one will ever willingly go back and rewatch. Number 10, Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston, 2019. We begin with the butt-ass WWE Championship match from SummerSlam 2019 between Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton. I mean, it's not their fault this match is a bullshit count-out finish only designed to stretch out this story for a rematch, because the story behind this match deserves so much more. Such is the story with much of Kofi's reign, really. Anyway, positivity. In 2009, Kofi Kingston looked poised to be a new top guy. He ruined Randy Orton's new car, was the sole survivor of a pretty good elimination match, and boom-dropped Randy through a table at Madison Square Garden. Everything's looking up, right? Well, then Orton beat him at TLC, shouted stupid when Kofi forgot the finish of a Raw match, and bada bing bada boom, back to the mid-card for another decade you go, Kof. Fast forward to 2019, and Orton was consistently a roadblock in Kofi's way to get to WrestleMania, and then stood in his way again at SummerSlam, serving as the perfect final boss for Kofi Kingston's unique story. Is all that linear and told on purpose? No, but it aids the story, and wrestling is about adapting, so as far as I'm concerned, this SummerSlam had a 10-year build, and I won't hear otherwise.
I mean, when you think about it, it really did. Like, I remember 2009, you could kind of sense that they were, and Kofi was only, what, like a year and some change in WWE, and Randy Orton he derailed Kofi's push. You know, Orton is a guy that had a lot of backstage influence. He did the same with Mr. Kennedy. If you know, you know, but I just feel like this should have been a lot more important. Like, I don't remember much of this build. Like, that's how unimportant it is, just in my mind at least. But they could have done so much more with it. They could have, you know, made it a little more personal. Like, yeah, I'm the reason that you were on the pre-show all these events while I was still main eventing, and, you know, like, it could have had that intensity.
So as far as I'm concerned, this SummerSlam had a 10-year build, and I won't hear otherwise. Number 9, Team WWE versus the Nexus.
This should have been top 3.
It may be becoming apparent that a stellar build does not a great match guarantee. However, let's take that negativity and put it right in the dumpster, and instead focus on the imagination-capturing run of the Nexus from June of 2010 until that infamous match at SummerSlam. So few times have there ever been such an instance of WWE getting an instant influx of new stars all at once. And unfortunately, even rarer are the times that has worked out, but you stay in that dumpster negativity. The former rookies of Season 1 of NXT arrived at the end of Raw, viewer's choice, and wreaked havoc and continued to do so in the coming weeks and months, taking out legends like Bret Hart, Ricky Steamboat, like the heinous bastards they are, and also Vince McMahon. Maybe they didn't need stopping. Everyone was into this shit. And John Cena's shaky recruitment of his fellow WWE stars, friend and foe, kept tension up until the very final Raw, when the crowd was so amped up for the teams to fight that the camera was literally shaking.
Yeah.
I mean, not how WWE usually shakes their cameras, like a good shake.
The Nexus storyline in the summer of 2010, like, man, I remember when they came in, they made it look so believable. Like, so believable that this wasn't supposed to happen. Like, they did an amazing job, man. All them guys, they did an amazing job in the SummerSlam build-up. It was money. It was money. Like, because it was what, like it was a 2-month build-up to this match. A 2-month build-up to this match, man. But it's sad that Nexus kind of ended up becoming a dud at the end of the day, though.
I mean, not how WWE usually shakes their cameras, like a good shake. Number 8, Seth Rollins vs. Edge, 2021. When Edge returned to WWE in 2020, there were loads of names people fantasy booked him to face. The name at the top of virtually everyone's list, Seth Rollins. On one hand, Seth was perhaps WWE's best in-ring performer at the time. Yeah. On the other, there was that time he tried to literally murder Edge. Yeah, I think they may have had some unfinished business. In 2014, the Authority was booted from WWE by Sting and John Cena's team at Survivor Series, and that lasted all of 1 month because WWE is a stupid company. God, it's like, it's in my veins. It's negativity. It's fighting its way out. Maybe I'm the problem. As we found ourselves in 2021, Seth felt that Edge had cut in line for a shot at the Universal Championship, and at Money in the Bank cost Edge said shot. Now that they had a reason to be fighting, Edge started to really get to Seth, calling him Edge Light and demanding he take the next step and be more than he was. I love storylines about wrestlers being similar and letting any anger or anxiety about those similarities drive the story. And thankfully, this build actually gave us a great match. Number 7, SummerSlam 2005. On paper, SummerSlam 2005 I think is the best SummerSlam ever.
The greatest SummerSlam of all time, man. Like, I know, you know, we're in a different time now, you know, where a lot of fans that are like, they call themselves super fans now, you know, they'll list, oh, SummerSlam 2016, that was this, or SummerSlam 2022, greatest main event. But it's like, man, you gotta look at it. Between SummerSlam 2005 or even SummerSlam 2002, like, when I see these top 3 lists and I see people talking about 2016, 2022, and this and that, it's like, how are y'all leaving out? I mean, we got the network for a reason. Go back and watch it. You know, 2002, 2005, hands down the greatest SummerSlams of all time, man. But SummerSlam 05, man, the build-up everywhere throughout it was just money. Cena, Jericho, Guerrero, Mysterio, hell, Batista and JBL, Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan, Randy Orton, Undertaker. Like, man, it was money. The whole card was money. Damn near.
That card is stacked, loaded with excellently built matches and also Angle versus Eugene.
Yeah.
Would you get out of here?
But hey, SummerSlam 05 has the quadruple feature of the excellently soap opera Mysterio family custody battle, the blisteringly blurred lines of Matt Hardy and Edge's love triangle with Lita, the increasingly ridiculousness of The Undertaker's year-long rivalry with Randy Orton, and quite possibly the most entertaining promo work of Shawn Michaels' second WWE run, building up his climactic match with Hulk Hogan. HBK's heel run in the summer of 05 was a thing of beauty. The heel turn on Hogan, the Larry King parody, and, of course, Who's Your Daddy, Montreal? It is a loaded show, and I haven't even mentioned the world title matches. Best ever on paper. If only there weren't little things wrong with the big matches.
Hey!
Number 6, Edge versus The Undertaker, 2008.
I like this.
Okay, 2008. Surely I can't be negative about that. The Undertaker's feud with Edge was over a year long, beginning when Edge was a sneaky little sausage and cashed in Money in the Bank on Zombie Joe in May 2007 before tormenting him until WrestleMania and beyond. By the summer of 2008, Edge and Vicky Guerrero had forcibly removed the dead man from the company, but then Edge cheated on his woman, and she made him fight an immortal wizard in a box.
Yeah.
That's why you stay faithful, lads. The SummerSlam '08 pay-per-view cycle was loaded with fantastic character work from Edge, who one could classify as deranged, singling out Mick Foley to tell him what he needed to do to succeed inside Hell in a Cell, given Foley's history with the Stip, with Undertaker, and with Edge. Foley told Edge that he needed to look within himself and find the Edge that had speared him through a flaming table and made him say that he was the best wrestler in the world, otherwise Undertaker would tear him apart. Edge accepted this constructive criticism and killed Mick Foley, sending him to the hell that was TNA. I mean, that is sadistic. It's not negativity if it's aimed at TNA. The whole build was incredibly psychological, with Edge at the forefront, one of the best storytellers of his time. Number 5, CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy,
I like
2009.
this one. I feel like a lot of people always forget about Punk and Hardy. The summer of '09, they had it on lock, man, for SmackDown. I say even for Raw, too. Like, Raw was kind of Trump, what was it? Trump bought Raw or something? Raw was weird in summer of '09, but SmackDown had it.
Or in the contract, does it say, under any circumstances, do not cash in on Jeff Hardy? That has always been one of my favorite quotes of this excellent rivalry. It perfectly encapsulates why the first WWE heel turn of CM Punk was so effective. It's a much slower heel turn than people remember, taking almost a full month before his turn is solidified after cashing in on Jeff Hardy at Extreme Rules.
Yep.
Punk was prepared to keep his morals because, in reality, he didn't do anything wrong. He just happened to step on someone more beloved than he was.
Facts.
Thus, the constant vitriol from the fans eventually had Punk lean in and say, alright, f*** you, I don't want to be a hero to you anyway. But even still, while definitely much more of a cock than he was previously, he still wasn't telling lies. That's his thing now, right? Punk was living a clean lifestyle, while Jeff Hardy was a quote-unquote free spirit, and yeah, one of those is safer and healthier for sure, but like, stop being a dick about it. The best kind of heel work. A dick, but right. The rivalry of the year for 2009 culminated in the main event of SummerSlam in a fantastic TLC match, and by the time we reached it, Punk was a shadow of his former, more respective self. Now an angry, self-righteous, vengeful version of himself, having completed one of the best character arcs of any wrestler of the time.
Facts.
Number 4, Bret Hart
And then Undertaker came back. Yeah, I mean, Punk was money. See, hey, he's money, man.
versus Owen Hart, 1994.
Brother versus
Boy,
brother.
does WWE love them a brother versus brother story.
Yeah.
Matt versus Jeff, Taker versus Kane, Edge versus Christian. But take it back to the start and you will find Bret and his brother Owen. Holders of the crown of best opening match in WrestleMania history, matters had been escalating since Survivor Series through the Royal Rumble, and they weren't yet settled with Owen's win at WrestleMania 10. Bret winning the WWE Championship later in the show didn't make Owen feel like the most important heart of the night, and he just wouldn't stand for that, winning King of the Ring and being his entertaining Owen Hart self until he and Bret met once again, this time in a steel cage match at SummerSlam 1994. There weren't very many long-term stories culminating at SummerSlam back in those days, and I suppose one could have put The Undertaker versus quote-unquote The Undertaker on this list, but one
It's funny, actually, I watched the SummerSlam earlier today.
would have to have different tastes in wrestling than I. Could have said something negative there, but I'm working on it. Number 3, Triple H versus The Rock versus Kurt Angle, 2000. Now,
Here we go.
granted,
Here we go.
The Rock, the WWF champion, the biggest star in the industry at the time, was absolutely the third wheel in his own SummerSlam main event.
Facts.
That being said, the remaining 2 wheels made up one of the best storylines in WWE history. Well, maybe like 3/4 of a great story. They were almost there, which means I get to be 3/4 positive for this one. The Triple H, Kurt Angle, Stephanie McMahon love triangle could be looked at as the peak of WWE's soap opera and spandex style of storytelling, with everyone playing their roles to perfection and a wrestling belt drifting in and out of focus. Is the actual pay-per-view cycle prior to SummerSlam 2000 actually messy as hell? Absolutely. Did they botch the end of the storyline beyond belief because of Triple H's ego? Unquestionably. But this storyline playing out over the course of the summer was the best story of WWE's most consistently great year, and if I had a TV and a credit card in 2000, you can bet my 3.5-year-old ass would have bought this pay-per-view because of it. Number 2, The Fiend versus Finn Balor, 2019. And now for something completely different. I maintain that the only reason people wet themselves over the thought of The Fiend was this period of time. And also the Firefly Funhouse match, yes, that too. But really, it is this build-up and this payoff. It had been some time since we had seen healed Bray Wyatt teaming with Matt Hardy in 2018, and when we got to the spring of 2019, most of WWE was pretty terrible, and amidst the mess was a brand new Bray Wyatt character. A much more different version of the character than we had seen before. I thought Matt was supposed to be the broken one. Every week, the Mr. Rogers Bray would let audiences in little by little, and then boo! Scary clown demon. Hands up if you expected that. We were then shown flashes of the Fiend, not enough for us to get a eye ache looking at him with an incessant red light, just glimpses, so when it came time for the Fiend to actually do the wrestle, everyone was incredibly intrigued by what we were going to see. It genuinely is mind-blowing to think that this build, full of subtlety, nuance, and patience, was taking place the same time as shit like this, or this, or this, or this, or this. Whoa, okay, too much negativity even for me. Let's go out on the highest of notes.
The Fiend, I heard that the Fiend was coming back at SummerSlam. I would love to see that. And I heard he was going to go after Cody Rhodes. I mean, considering Roman's going to retain at SummerSlam, he's probably going to leave. How about Payback, Bray versus Cody, the main event?
Yes, whoa, okay, too much negativity even for me. Let's go out on the highest of notes. Only positivity from here on out.
The greatest build-up to SummerSlam of all time. Triple H and Shawn Michaels, man. Shawn gets, messed up backstage. You talk about the DX reunion. Triple H, like, becoming that guy. Like, come on.
And number one, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, 2002.
Let's go.
Is this storyline wacky? Of course, and I do not at all feel inclined to take points away from a pro wrestling grudge match for being wacky. Some people have ring rust after being away for a couple of months with an injury, and then there's Shawn Michaels, who can step back into a WWE ring for the first time in 4.5 years and be the best in the business.
Look like money.
One of a kind. The anticipation of HBK's first match back was palpable, brought on by the incredible work done by Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and everyone else involved to make Shawn seem as believably close to permanent injury as possible, while in reality, yeah, he was alright. And all of that isn't even considering the mountain of history shared between Trips and HB Shizzle. The countless layers of real and kayfabe love and heat between them, making for maybe the most hotly anticipated SummerSlam match of all time. And again, I must reiterate that this was Shawn Michaels coming out of retirement. And it was good! Unlike that other time! And that's our list. Make sure, of course, that you like this video. Subscribe if you have.
Triple H and Shawn, man. Like, I remember, like, at that time, I was 7, 8 years old. I couldn't, order pay-per-views, but the build up to that match, it just had me so excited for it. Because, to be honest, at that time in my life, I didn't know who Shawn Michaels was. I always heard, people around me, adults around me always talked about, man, Shawn Michaels, he was that guy. This is Mr. WrestleMania. They looked at Shawn as like this, like, man, like, if Shawn comes back, like, I didn't know who Shawn was before SummerSlam 02. So when that build-up happened, it was money. And ever since then, like, Shawn Michaels, one of the greatest of all time to me, man. But 10 greatest SummerSlam builds in WWE history. Link down below in the description for y'all to check this out in its entirety with no interruptions. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for me. And until the next video, I'll see y'all then. Thank you for watching MKE MANIACI. I'm out.